Hello, listeners, and welcome back. I am very, very excited because if you listened to last week's episode with Megan Jacobson, we were both actually talking about this book and how we were both currently reading it, which is Only a Monster by the incredible Vanessa Len. And today we have her on. So welcome, Vanessa. Thank you so much for joining us at Writer's Advice.
Thank you for inviting me to Writer's Advice. It's so great to
Thank you. So if you haven't heard of Vanessa, or you've obviously have not been into any any bookstore recently, because her incredible book, Only a Monster, is everywhere. The cover is beautiful. I am currently reading it. I'm up to chapter 19, so I don't even want to give away any.
You're a big
I'm on the edge
yeah.
of it right now, and it's such an incredible story. So yeah, we just kind of wanted to get to know you and see what the journey has been for you to get here to Only a Monster. So Only a Monster was brought out on the 1st of February, and you have just had 5 weeks of the most phenomenal debut and going through this incredible whirlwind. So yeah, I want to know exactly what it was that brought you to this. So the first question that we usually ask everyone is, what was the moment when you realized that you were a writer?
Oh my gosh, the moment I realized I was a writer, I feel like it was probably something like in grade 1 or even prep. I used to write like little plays and then because I was the oldest in my family of cousins, make my cousins and brother do the plays. So probably pretty early on, as soon as I could write. I've still got some of my primary school stories that I wrote.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Yep.
Early on.
And so did you follow through with that? Did you study English, and what was kind of your process post school to now?
Yeah, for some reason I just never thought that like publishing a book was something just a normal person could do. So, I guess like a lot of people, I kind of fostered that dream to write a book, but I didn't actually do anything practical about it. But yes, I studied English at university. I did an editing and publishing course post-university. So I worked as an editor for a really long time. And I never thought I would be on this other side of publishing, on the author side. So this has been really, really exciting.
Yeah. So is Only a Monster the first book you've ever written? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I've written short stories before this, but it was a massive learning curve because I didn't know how to write a novel. I was like Googling, how do you write a scene? I mean, I guess you know how to write a scene from short stories, but constructing an arc out of scenes is really different in a novel. So there was a lot to learn.
Yeah. And how did that process start for you? So because I don't want to go into it because I don't want to ruin it for readers, because you just have to buy this book, but there's so much in it, and there's so many beautiful scenes, and it's a phenomenon. Like 5 weeks, and you've been republished it in how many countries?
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess we'd sold to other countries before it was published here.
Yeah.
So I've had actually 3 launches this month. I had one in Australia first, and then I had one in the UK, and then I just had one in the US. So it's been a massive whirlwind this month.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did this story or the idea first come to you?
Yeah. So I kind of knew I was having dinner with some friends, and we were all just talking about how we'd just all been thinking about writing a book. And then we thought, why don't we make a pact? We'll all just make a pact. We're going to write a book. We're going to meet up every Saturday, sit somewhere, maybe in a library, and just write together. And a few published books have come out of that. I was like pointing because normally my friend Shelley's book is here, but Shelley Parker Chan wrote this book called She Who Began the Sun that also came out of that night.
Wow.
And I guess that is where the impetus to actually write a book came from. But the idea for the book came from, I guess, when I was growing up, I really liked kind of big blockbuster films. And in those films, the heroes and bad guys would be really clearly demarcated. But I would find that the heroes just really didn't often look like me. But for some reason, the bad guys would sometimes look like me. I don't know. I think sometimes it's because there's a lot of like Asian American stunt people. So then sometimes the only time you'll see an Asian face, or at least when I was growing up, in those movies is just when they're in a fight scene and they're usually fighting the hero. And it just gave me this idea of like, kind of, wouldn't it be interesting to write one of those very classic heroes, kind of decent, upright, they're fighting for the weak, but you're fighting, I guess the narrator or the perspective that you're following is fighting against that hero rather than with that hero. So yeah, that's where the seed of the book and the seed of the idea came from.
Yeah. And the way you've written Joan, who is your protagonist, is I fell in love with her straight away. She is so brought so to real life, and you read through this story and you get lost, and you've done it so well to do that whole good versus evil, but twist it in this beautiful way. And yeah, I feel like it's not done enough. You're so right. It's why isn't it done enough? Like, and that's such a big reason of why it's taken off. Like, it's an incredible story, and I'm so excited because it is a full trilogy. So there are 2 more coming out. Is there talk of movie rights being sold?
I cannot say. I cannot say.
I don't know if you can't say anything, but in either way, I swear this is going to be a movie. Like, I just not like
if only so that would be amazing.
So if you're not discussing it yet, I feel like it's coming for you. So
I cannot say.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that. It is so gorgeous. So I want to come back to this. So every month you caught up and yeah, just I love, when did this happen?
Yeah, every week actually. Every week we would catch up. Yeah. So we were all very busy, but we tried to make time, yeah, I guess once a week, just meet up for lunch, meet up to write. And it was, I feel like that is one of the things that just made me finish it, because you kind of, writing can be so solitary, as I'm sure everybody listening to this knows, but it doesn't have to be. Like, I think sometimes when you like really reach out and even within your own circle, you'll find that there are already writers there. I know that at work, when I said I was writing a book, just so many people just suddenly said, me too, I'm also writing a book. So that was really nice too. Like, sometimes I'd have lunch at work with someone else who was writing a book, and we'd just have a little write together.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's just like coming out with it and being honest, and you'd be surprised how there is a community out there. It's kind of exactly why I wanted to create this podcast too, because it is seen as such this solitary, get in your zone thing. But if you don't be scared to share your ideas. I feel like that's the thing too. People's like, oh, I don't want to have that stolen from me or something like that. But no 2 people will ever write the same story the same, I believe.
No, never. And I think people are just so much more, like, they're not going to steal your work. So much more interested in their own work.
Literally. We're all given different stories and ideas.
Exactly. Yeah, and really I think if you open up about what you're writing, it's just fun to talk about it with people. It's fun to talk about their stories. And you'll find that sometimes, I found anyway, that by just talking about my book, talking about the world of the book, the characters, it kind of seemed more alive, to be able to share that with people. And then for me to be able to share their characters and world building with them as they were writing, kind of makes both worlds feel a little bit more alive. It's not just in your own head, it's in someone else's head as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And 100%, it makes it more real. And I'm sure that also helps with the creative process of having ideas and sharing ideas as well.
Definitely. I think you could only come up with so much by yourself. So I think, especially when people get excited about it, or you're excited about their story, you're just naturally like, oh my gosh, and then what? And then what? And I think sometimes just having that little prompt can also help you kind of spark ideas in yourself.
Absolutely. So how long did it take you to write the full Only a Monster?
So I did a lot of development work before I even started writing the manuscript. I would say like a couple of years of just coming up with the world, rules of time travel, the characters, all their backstories. And then when I actually started writing it, I remember the exact date because it was January 1st, 2016. And I had made another pact with a different group of writing friends from this workshop I did called Clarion, we just made this pact. We were going to write 300 words a day. We were going to share them with each other to prove that we'd written 300 words that day. And for me, that was the best kickstart into actually writing manuscript that kind of would end up being in the manuscript, in the book, as opposed to something a bit more exploratory. So yeah, I think it took me from the 1st of January 2016 until mid 2019, which is when I started querying agents.
Because it's a big book, but you don't realize, because the way you've written it, like you can't put it down. Like you might pick it up and be like, oh, but straight away you can't put it down. So it's not really a big book when you start reading it. But I want to talk about your planning process, because I haven't gone into this too much yet on the podcast. So when you say you did a lot of developmental planning, what does that involve for you?
So at the very, very, very beginning, when I first decided I was going to write a book, I had that premise, monster versus hero, but I didn't have a world. I didn't know what kind of monsters these were. So I just wrote this giant list of just everything that I love the most, my favorite TV shows, my favorite moments in a book, my favorite characters. And then I kind of distilled the list into just things that I'd found patterns in. So there was like really specific things like the poignancy of time travel. And then, so kind of out of that distilled list, I guess I came up with this world, I came up with these characters, and I guess that was the origin of the world itself. And I guess after that, I also did a lot of talking it through with friends from that dinner, kind of teasing out, how does this world work? What exactly do I want it to be? And I think we all kind of, well, we were kind of new to it. So we were just kind of using the same process together of like, what would I like the most? What would I enjoy the most? What kind of character would I like to read myself? And so I kept coming back to that, like, what do I think would be cool in this moment? What kind of characters would I think would go well together? So it was very kind of an internal process, but also an external one. And I was like really discussing it with people also telling me about their books.
I love how you said that, though. It's what do I like the most? Because at the end of the day, you're the one writing it. It's your story. And I think there can be a lot of pressure or ideas out there of like what's hot right now and this and that. But as I'm sure you know, the process of publishing is a very long one.
Very fickle as well. You just never know what's going to happen. So I think, at least for me, my thinking was, well, at least if I enjoy writing this, I'll have enjoyed writing it, if nothing else.
Yeah, 100%. And you've written the story that you wanted to write. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. So you finished the book. What's happened then? How was your process of getting it published?
Yeah, so I sent queries, and I think my pitch was really bad. My query letter was terrible. I was getting, how you meant to get like I can't remember what percentage hit rate. I think I got a 0% hit rate of anyone who wanted to request the full manuscript. I don't know. I kept changing that query letter, doing all kinds of things, but I don't know, I wasn't really getting many bites at all. But I was really lucky that one of my friends referred me to her agent, who I guess they feel obliged sometimes to read the manuscript. But yeah, no, luckily for me, she really liked it. And that was my my agent, Tracy. So yeah, after that, she moved really fast. I was like, oh, I just finished this book. I'm really tired.
Yeah.
I had a break. And she was like, no, we need to go. Because she wanted to submit it to Frankfurt, which was, I think, the last Frankfurt before the pandemic. It's like a book fair where you take it, I guess, to publishers all around the world. So that was her strategy. She wanted to get the book straight out to Frankfurt. And then it was really a whirlwind after that. Everything was happening really quickly. I think the first offer was from Germany, and there was another offer from Spain, and then it sold to America, and then Australia. It was just like a lot of things happening all at once.
Wow.
Very exciting. Yeah.
And did you get an Australian agent or?
No, I actually got an American agent. I feel like you can go either way, right? It's just that no, I don't think I think I didn't even submit yet to an Australian agent. I was trying my luck with US agents because I thought it would be easier to sell into the US first, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And a lot of people,
Yeah.
I think some advice that we've had previously is when you are looking at getting published, and also America has a lot more agents than I think Australia. We might have 10. That could be like it's very little. So a lot of people have said start with America or the UK, and see how you go over there where the industry's booming. So that's excellent. You've sold to so many different countries straight up, and so Only a Monster is going to be a trilogy. Now, you've written the first book. Did you have any idea that it was going to be a trilogy after that, or you were thinking it, or?
Yeah, because I had done so much development work beforehand that when I had created this plot that I thought was like, oh, that seems like a solid structure. And then I started writing the book and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot fit this amount of plot into this book. I thought I could, but yeah, I feel like a book it can fit a lot less plot than I had thought. So I knew after I'd put I guess a fairly clear structure and arc for book one, there was just so much more story that I knew I would at least want 2 more books. I didn't know I would necessarily get to do it, but I was really lucky again that I was able to sell 3.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you've also not only sold in many sold to so many countries, you're also in a couple of subscription boxes as well. So can I say Fable and Crate? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'll make sure that this goes out at the right time.
Yes.
If you're watching this on video, Vanessa has a beautiful cover there that is for the specific subscription box, and there's also a purple one that's already out for Fairy Loot as well. So it is the most gorgeous covers. They're amazing. So you've really I love this story because it's literally just staying consistent and creating something, and you really don't know where that process can take you. Not
at all. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any. I definitely hoped I'd be able to get it traditionally published, but I feel like at some point it's not necessarily up to you. It's like a lot of luck as well. So yeah, I guess my thought was, at least if I enjoyed the process of this, at least I'll have got that much out of it, and I'll have learned how to write a book. So
absolutely. And this is a gorgeous story. I love it so much. It's like if you stay true to yourself and you just enjoy the process, you really don't know what that can take for you. I think we keep coming back to this theme of if you're just following your joy, you don't know where that can take you, and it's really beautiful. I do just want to ask you one question on coming back to the process. So 300 words a day you stuck to. How did you fit that into your day? How did you structure that? Did you have any specific things that you did to get you into the process of writing in that flow state? What does your day look like when you are writing, and what are your creative process on it, I guess?
I think when we did the 300 word a day pact, I was lucky because we were on, I guess, the New Year break. So I didn't have work. I think I had about a week where I could just write without, also having to come home from work and then write, or get up really early and then write, which was the case for most of the book. So for most of the book, I would get up really early before work, write, and then go to work. Sometimes I would write at lunchtime at work as well, and then write Saturdays. So I feel like that's the other kind of hidden part of writing, isn't it? Sometimes it can just be a lot of work. Where you're kind of like, do I have to get up? Yeah, crazy. You kind of have to get up. And again, that was another point where it was quite nice to have friends who were also writing. At one point, I had my friend Madeline and I were both waking up at the same time, both write, just kind of being a little checkpoint for each other. So we text me I'm up. I love coffee. That. I'm writing.
Accountability.
So if you don't have much time, it can help to have a buddy as well.
Yeah. And when you're writing the story, do you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is working out? I'm really into this now. And do you remember when that was?
I feel like that's my favorite moment of anything when that happens. I don't know why, but I really experienced writing that book as a lot of problems to solve. I was like, maybe it's because it's time travel. It just seemed like on every page there was like almost like a riddle or something. I was really trying to figure out, how does this work? How can I make this work? So I feel like I had a lot of those little eureka moments of like, yes, that's how it works. I find that was really my whole process for this book. But I can't think of anything, specific, but yeah, almost on every page there was like a little problem to solve, and then a little bit of yay when it was solved.
I think that is actually really the beauty of Only a Monster as well, because when I'm reading through it, and when it's so great, I actually highly recommend, if anyone is listening to this, please go and read Vanessa's book and then listen to this back, because when I'm reading through it, I am like, oh my gosh, when you were talking about your planning, I was like, there's so much in, like you're fully in it, and you've put everything into it, and there's so many different parts and pieces. It does feel like a riddle, but in a beautiful way. You're like, whoa. And you've got to, it's it's so great. Everyone just has to read it, and then you'll understand what I'm talking about with it. So on that, so accountability is obviously a number one thing for you, but what else would you recommend to upcoming writers who are in that position of, I want to write a book, or I'm currently starting a manuscript? What are some advice or recommendations that you would offer?
I feel like if you've already started, you're just way ahead of where I was for most of my writing life. I feel like I just feel like I didn't know that this was something anybody could do, just like a normal person could do. And it really took a couple of friends publishing books before me to realize that, like they're just normal people. I could do, what if I could do this too? I could definitely try. So yeah, I feel like if you are an aspiring writer who's already started writing your novel, you've already taken the biggest step that you can take. And if you haven't taken it yet, just go for it. Like, there's nothing to lose. And I feel like it's really fun just to learn, how to write a novel, how to create characters, how to structure something really long like that. For me, at least, it was really fun. And then, other than that, as I said, I would just try to make connections, even within your own life. I feel like, that, you don't have to go elsewhere to try to find other writers. You'll often just find them in your own existing circles. Your own friends might be writing, people at work that you really like might be writing, family members. So I would say the things that helped me the most were having that kind of those buddy networks, and having people who are also interested in talking about writing. Because I feel like sometimes it can be, if you're not interested in talking about writing, I think those conversations that can be really boring for people. So you kind of want to find people that also want to hear about it.
It's interesting though. I've heard a lot of these stories where I think writing can be especially if you're starting something new in your life, where people may not see you as that type of person. If you are just honest about it and start talking about it, you'd be surprised that people around you would be like, yeah, I'm doing that too, or wow, that's so cool, or I've always wanted to write a book, and you start to hear that as well. So
I feel like it's really nice, I guess, to have those creative conversations with people as well. Like, just even like not even just writing, like I would find people being like, oh, I sometimes paint in my free time, like things like they'll just start talking about their own creative things. Not even necessarily writing, which is also just really nice, I found.
I think like creativity is so important, and when you start talking about it and having those conversations of how people express that and do that, it's really beautiful. And you're so right, it's even having those conversations where it doesn't even have to be about the writing or the book, but just being infused with that is inspiring, but also they're great. Having those conversations are great for story building if you are writing.
So true. So true. And I know that a lot of people don't like to share the actual I guess content of the work too early, because I know sometimes people just want to really protect it, which is totally fine as well. You can still be having writing conversations without actually talking about the specifics of what you're writing before you're ready. It really depends on people's process, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what was the best advice that you've been given during this process as a writer?
I would say my best writing advice that I ever got was from Karen Joy Fowler, who I'm a massive fan of. But she said that when you get stuck, don't worry about the words, just try to imagine the scene more deeply. And I feel like I always use that when I'm stuck. I'm just like, just really picture yourself in this scene, in this moment. What is happening? What are you feeling? What's around you? And it really helps.
That's really beautiful. So you're a visionary person as well. Like you really see it when you're, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I'm very visualizer. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like all writers are big, like beautiful daydreamers inside, like in a great way. So that's really awesome. And do you have any favorite books? Are there any particular favorite books that made you fall in love with writing or reading and just general books itself?
I feel like I read this book recently by, it was like a craft book by the agent Donald Mars. And he said that, often people's favorite books are the ones they read really early in life, like they're the kind of formative books. So I would say one of my early favorites was probably Howl's Moving Castle by Dinah Wynne Jones. What I really love about her writing is just the conviction she writes fantasy with. It's like when she's writing fantasy, you kind of really believe this world could exist. It's like almost like, she believes it. So I would love to be able to write like that, to create worlds where you can kind of believe this could really exist, at least for the duration of the book.
Well, I'm lost in yours like that. So I feel like you definitely do. And I think that YA, I love YA as well. And I still read a lot of YA because they are these beautiful stories that do affect you in a different way, because you can imagine reading those young when you are in this huge, transformative state. And it's really beautiful. Yeah, I think.
So true. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So at the end of every interview, what we do ask is that we get a word prompt from you for a listener to win a copy of Only a Monster. So what they have to do is they just head to oliviahillier.com/podcast. They fill out 2 paragraphs based on your word prompt for a chance to win Only a Monster. So what is your word prompt for us today, Vanessa?
This is fun. Well, there's time travel in Only a Monster. It's kind of one of the big powers. I guess the monstrous power is time travel. So I think my prompt would be to write a couple of paragraphs about a time traveler witnessing a big event of history.
I love that. I love time traveling too. I'm kind of in awe of people who can write time travel. It's not something I've tried before. And I was really since reading your book, I'm like, wow, because there's so much you have to add up and plan and do. So
yeah, I think because I was just too naive to know that it would be really hard to write time travel. It was really hard.
You just get started and realize you're halfway in it and then trying to add it all up.
So. I was like, are all books this hard to write?
Not only that, you now have to follow it up with another 2. So
I think once I'd done it once, I think it wasn't as hard.
Yeah. So are the following 2 written? You've already written them, or they're in?
So I'm in edits for the second one, and then the next one I suppose start writing quite soon.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Excellent. I cannot wait for these. And where can listeners find you, chat to you, learn more about your books and everything that you've got coming up?
Oh my gosh, I've been getting this question, and every time I just have to look it up. So you can find me on Instagram at Vanessa.Len_writes. I would say I'm most active there, so look for me there.
Yeah, perfect.
On the top of my head.
No, that's fine. Awesome. So I will put all those in the show notes, and I will also put your writing prompt in the show notes as well. I hope you absolutely enjoy. I'm sure you've got so many more events to do in this whirlwind of a debut. It's so exciting, and I can't thank you enough for your book, because it is just so beautiful and it's been so enjoyable to read, and I cannot wait to gift it to a listener, and I hope everyone gets their hands on Only a Monster. And it's just like, I just look at that bookshelf behind you. It looks just so gorgeous on your bookshelf as well. So
thank you, Olivia.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
So awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Vanessa.
Thank you.